Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello.
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 Oh, we are doing it in English, are we?
No.
Oh.
You do it so much better than me. I can't do
golly.
that.
I have a lot of Harry Potter practice. A lot of Harry Potter practice.
I've never seen Harry Potter.
I'm leaving this whole awkward silence in, just so you know.
I know. I'm sorry.
Awkward. You should be. You should be sorry, because that is the one thing. This is a judgment-free podcast, except around Harry Potter.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
The Harry Potter judgment exemption.
That's not good.
I'm telling you, Nikki, you can't be around my kids. They would be very, very disconcerted by this news. I think we might need to start doing live Harry Potter readings to catch you up. The Harry Potter podcast.
We don't. I tried. I'll be honest. My husband and I got the audiobook. We rented it. And we were driving to Walla Walla, which is about 5 hour. Well, I guess we were in Portland at the time, so it was about a 4 hour drive. And we started to listen to it, and and
you didn't do it.
I kept falling asleep, and I just couldn't get into it. I'm sorry. I know.
Oh dear.
I know.
Dear me.
I know.
Okay. Well, it's good to know. Good to know. It's important to know where we stand with each other.
I know.
We are not talking about Harry Potter today. We are very much not.
So
although Nikki may have
non-judgment podcast. Thank you very much.
Right. Although, speaking of our podcast, Nikki has just sabotaged the entire thing because of her Harry Potter stuff.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
Okay.
It's a joke. We are talking about how to avoid sabotaging your day. And this is one of those things. I have been thinking so hard about the binary language feedback that we got from our listener last week. And I feel like that plays right into the challenges that come with potentially sabotaging your day. So I'm excited to hear about your thoughts and where this came from. Before we get into that, head over to takecontroladhd.com. You can get to know the show, listen right there on the website, or subscribe to our mailing list and get an email every time a new episode launches in Nikki's fantastic email newsletter. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD and call 503-664-4ADD and get your voice and your thoughts and your questions on the show. And we mentioned last week, we're doing some planning for the first quarter of next year. We'd love your thoughts. What do you want to hear? What do you want to listen to? What do you want us to talk about? Do you have questions we can build shows around? Now's the time to get them in. So make sure you use all of those: Twitter, Facebook, and phone, and let us know. You can also support the show, listener-supported podcasting at Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Your $1 or $3 or $5 a month really helps us to grow the show and do more of the kinds of things that we want to do to help support the ADHD community. Thank you for your support. All right, Nikki, how do you avoid sabotaging your day?
You know, as you were doing that introduction, I was thinking there are so many ways that we can sabotage our day. It's crazy. And to say that, I'm just going to talk about, like, there's only 5, I'm talking about 5 of them. I mean, this is insane, because we know that there's so much more than just 5.
Yeah, right.
And when you were talking about the language, I don't even talk about the language. Like, that's not even in my outline. And that's what made me think, oh my gosh, there is so much to this. And so this may be another show going on, part 2 in 2018.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Exactly. But I don't know where the motivation came from writing this. Maybe because I was sabotaging my own day and I was like, what the heck am I doing? That might be where it came from. We all start with such good intentions. You get up in the morning and you think, okay, I'm going to get this done. It's going to be a great day. I have a plan. And then, something always happens. It's an unexpected phone call. Someone shows up at your door that you're not expecting. A kid gets sick. You get sick. You don't feel well. A meeting gets postponed. It gets canceled. I mean, all of these different things can happen. And the problem that we face is that it's really hard to adjust. It's really hard to, okay, now my plan's not going this way. So what do I do now? And we get a little lost. And, we don't have control over these things. And so we have to kind of figure out how do we deal with that, and how do we control our response?
I think it's been a long time since I've dropped this, but it's still one of those things that's in the back of my mind. A therapist said to me decades ago, I was seeing a therapist in high school, and he said, "Hey man, your power ends with your skin."
Yeah.
Like if you can't touch it, if you can't feel it inside yourself, you can't control it.
Right.
And you've got to figure out a way to rationalize your world with that in mind. Your power ends with your skin.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's deep.
It is deep.
Okay.
So where do you want to start?
Well, I kind of wanted to start with sort of the not to do. So this is sort of, we always talk about your to-do list. So this is sort of the not to do list to avoid sabotaging your day. Number one is that if we are not paying attention to our mindset, I think that really can throw us for a loop. And what I mean by that is we really want to avoid going into our day with that kind of negative attitude, assuming that it's already going to be awful, or assuming that it's already going to be so busy that you're going to be behind, or just feeling bad in some way. So somehow we want to kind of shift that the best that we can. I mean, this is not a perfect science, but I'm going to go back to meditation and talk about that for just a moment. If you can just start the day with a 1 or 2 minute meditation, whether it's guided or on your own or just to music or you're walking. Nature is also something that was talked a lot about at the conference that I talked about last week. Just going out in nature can do wonders for you to kind of reset yourself. But if you can really do that little meditation or mindfulness practice before you go into email or before you check your voicemails, you're going to have a hopefully a clearer mindset. So that's the one thing that I would say. Let's try to really pay attention to our mindset before we start the day.
Wake up, find your presence.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Another thing that I see happen with the busyness, this is the stuff that, we're always running around busy. And what we want to avoid is not leaving enough buffer time in between our appointments and tasks. I know we've talked about this on the show before. I talk about this a lot in my time course. But this buffer time is really important. And it's a reminder that I want people just to remember. I mean, it's, are you scheduling back to back? Are you really intentional with what kind of appointments you're scheduling and how much time you're leaving in between appointments? And this, when you do this, even if it's just like 15 minutes, what happens is you're allowing some of those distractions to happen. You're allowing for the unexpected phone call. It's giving you just a little bit of breathing room rather than going back to back. So bottom line here, I think, is just being really mindful and intentional about your schedule.
Oh, I love that one. I include buffer time between appointments. People can schedule with me on my calendar. I make sure that they can't schedule for more than 50 minutes for an hour session because I need 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
I need 10 minutes between meetings and a travel time. If you have a calendar that supports travel time, make sure you're using it so that it shows the kind of time you're going to need to actually get to where you're going.
Absolutely.
Those little buffer pieces are huge for again, creating that mindful space.
Right,
that's great.
Right. Another thing that I think people tend to not do, which I really encourage you to do, is they don't necessarily take breaks during the day. In fact, sometimes they just forget to eat lunch altogether, right? You're so busy, you're stressed. And so you're not taking any breaks. You're not eating. But I have
and when you are eating, you're not eating right.
You're not eating right. Exactly. Yeah. And then, here's a little bit of self-reflection that I want you to really think about. When you're in that mode, are you really as focused as you could be? Are you really getting the work done that you need to get done? Because chances are, I've done this long enough to guess that's probably not the case.
Yeah.
You're not really as productive as you would like to be or think you are, just because you're standing, because you're sitting in front of your desk.
Yeah.
So we got to get true about that, right? We got to really see, okay, how does taking a break, how is that really going to benefit me? Well, it benefits you from, again, that mindfulness. It allows, or that meditation allows you to reset your brain. It allows you to actually be more focused. Get up from your seat walk around, get some water, eat right, fuel your body, right? Because with the right stuff, and take care of yourself. Because if you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your ADHD, which means when you come back, you're going to be much more focused, much more clear, and probably a lot more productive than you were if you didn't take that break.
High probability.
High probability.
High probability.
Can't say always because that's too permanent of a word.
Definitely. That's right. That's right.
But, I'm going to say that it's a pretty high chance.
Right.
And definitely worth trying.
Now, I know you want to talk about social media.
Yeah. How
does that relate? It's almost a subtopic to breaks.
Well, because that's not the break I want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The social media is a trap. And I'm so guilty of it because, part of my business is being on Facebook. And so I can easily go onto my business page, but then all of a sudden I'm onto my personal page, and that's a time suck. There's no doubt about it. And so,
well, and you're in an interesting space, just as I am, because part of the job day to day is to be on Facebook, right? You have to do it,
right?
And that makes it that much more difficult. So if you have a role, and a lot of us do, where it somehow involves us being on Facebook, that also requires an extra level of attention and an extra barrier.
It really does, and I'll tell you, one of the things I've done to actually help is that I have my business page under that business manager or whatever it is.
Facebook business manager?
Yeah. So I have the business page under the business manager. So it's not connected to my personal Facebook. So for me to go check my business page, I have to go to a different link.
Yeah.
And I do that on purpose because then when I check my Facebook for business, it really is just for business.
That's a big deal.
Now I could still click the little Facebook button and get home, like really easy.
Yeah, right. It doesn't take that much. Right?
But it has separated. So anyway,
but it's a layer of abstraction.
It is, exactly. And what we were saying before, point in hand, is that we don't want that to be your break, because that 5-minute break is going to end up being, 15, 20 minutes. It's a rabbit hole. There's too many links and clicks and go here. That's going to just, take you away from what you were trying to do. So I suggest with social media, I love social media. I love being on it, but you need to decide when is the right time to be on it. So maybe that's in the evening when you're not trying to get stuff done.
How do you end your days?
This is tough because in the business that I do, the work that I do with clients, by the time they come to me, and even after they've worked with me for a while, it's really easy to beat ourselves up for everything that we didn't get done. And you're looking at your to-do list and you're thinking, well, I got this done, but I didn't get this, and this. And in reality, we probably had too much on the list anyway that we couldn't even potentially get it done. Like, it's just not realistic, but somehow we think that we can. And, this is stressful because this right here could be that boundary that you start to cross and say, well, I didn't get as much done today as I should have, so I'm going to stay later at work.
And thus a pattern is born.
A pattern is born, and now the priority of personal time and family time is being crossed. And so we have to be really careful with this because, it can affect relationships and it can be very devastating. And so I'm simply saying, okay, let's leave the day recognizing what we do. But I think that there's probably a lot more work done if that's the pattern, or that needs to be done. If that's the pattern you're going into, we probably really have to dig in a little deeper to figure out how to stop that pattern. So I'm not taking it lightly and saying, oh, if you just recognize what you did, you should go home. Like, I understand it's not that simple. Yeah. But I do want people to have a bigger awareness of what they did accomplish and acknowledge that, because even though maybe it took longer than what you expected, that's almost to be expected, but you did it. It's done, or it got started, or, just really recognizing your effort and the results. But then of course, trying to get that balance back into your life, I think is really important as well.
This is great stuff. And I know you talk a lot about this in one of your courses. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Managing Time with ADHD course, we go into a lot of detail, much more detail about your to-do list and planning and balance and procrastination and all of that. So it ties in very nicely to what we've talked about today. So if you're interested in that, please check out my website. You're going to see all of the courses there. We'll also have a link to the show notes as well. The other thing I want people to know that we have available, which is directly related to time management, is we have a free download that talks about how to get out of the door on time, and it has a daily checklist that's attached to it. And Pete and I designed this daily checklist years ago, but man, it is really
it works.
It still stands just as important today as it did back then, right? It's great. So we will put that in the downloads, in the show notes as well. So if you haven't gotten that, check that out as well.
Excellent. We will certainly do that. And what do we want to know from the audience? You have a question here that you would like to know from people specifically.
Yeah, I am really curious to know what people have decided to no longer do during their day. So this goes back to, you have your to-do list and you have your not to-do list. And so if you have things that you specifically don't do anymore because you felt like they were sabotaging your day, please let us know. I would love to share those ideas and thoughts on the show because, as I said at the beginning, there's so much to this topic. And the more we can share as a community, the better it is for everybody. So if there is something that's on your not to-do list, please let us know. You can send me an email and just quickly, say what it is. Doesn't have to take you much time, or you can call us, whatever you prefer to do. But I would love to hear from you.
Once again, Twitter and Facebook at Take Control ADHD, and you can call us at 503-664-4ADD to share those thoughts, and we'll talk about them a little bit on the show. I already have one. Just discovered it, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we'll leave it.
This is great. We'll leave it right there.
So make a little note that's going to be our what is it? Our show updates or whatever.
Yeah.
What do we call
it? Whatever. Follow up.
We call it follow up. Thank you. See, I can't remember.
Yeah. That's all right. You did a great job today. It's time to hang it up. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. We absolutely appreciate your time and attention. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll catch you next time right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.